Hello everyone, this is Yoda from Team Loaded, bringing you another video for Nerdstomper.com. This video is going to be the third in a three-part series on the Soul Stealer. So far in the series there have been the first video, which is on the Soul Stealer just in general, like item builds, hero build, skill build, and the second one was on the early game laning phase. This video is going to be on the mid game once you've finished your post haste. This replay is going to be from a recent matchmaking game that I played, and I started off the game pretty well. I think I went 3-0 in the laning phase, and I got my post haste at about 9 minutes. The reason I went for post haste this game is because I felt like my hero was strong enough to take on most enemy heroes already, so the fast power that Steam Boots offered was going to be a little bit wasted, and the extra mobility would allow me to counter gank a lot more, gank a lot easier, and also farm a lot faster. So now that the replay is starting, I just got my post haste like I said, and I believe what's about to happen is there's an accursed that's farming this lane on my team, and he's at about mid HP, so he was baiting. His bait actually turned out to work really well. As you can see, a Hellbringer and a Rampage tried to gank him. Once we got one kill, he kind of wanted to back off, but I decided to go for it since I was so over level and over farmed. So as you can see, I just kind of walked up to the two heroes that couldn't decide if they wanted to chase the accursed or run away, and used my ultimate. And that fight ended up pretty well, mostly because I was over level. I think that Rampage was not even level 6 yet. The reason I made the decision to just go in was because once again, because I was over level, and since Rampage wasn't level 6 yet, they didn't really have a good way to interrupt my ultimate, and they couldn't really just try to kill me because there was an accursed there. So essentially, they had to focus. They couldn't focus accursed because he was running away, and they couldn't focus me because the curse was just in the back, ready to shield me. So since they couldn't really focus anybody, it was a really good time to fight. Recognizing situations like that, where most HON players would think that you would have to run away since the fight was like 3-on-2, but you recognize that it's actually a good time to fight, are going to give you a huge edge because the enemy is going to be running at you, maybe trying to cut off your escape and giving up a little of their edge in the fight, while you have already recognized the situation and are just going to be fighting them. Generally, if you're right about your decision in one of these cases, then you're going to end up with at least one kill. So since that Hellbringer tanked my nukes while I was just using them to clear creeps, I'm actually going to be able to take this tower pretty easily, especially since I have double damage and my damage is much higher than his already. So now since I have post haste and he just has marchers, I actually decided to get a little rowdy and start walking up to him. Now since I'm half HP, they're going to think I'm going to go heal, but since I also have a bottle, I was hoping they might not recognize that, but it turns out they actually did, so they backed. And now it seems like that Rampage has finally shown up, so my rowdiness has not gone unpunished, and I'm actually just going to die here. So once you're ahead, make sure you're not too over cocky, because you can still easily die, especially since all you really have is a post haste. So any hero that focuses you can kill you. If you notice, I just bought out. That wasn't. Most players might think that buying out here is just like kind of a rage buyout, like I was really angry and I just wanted to play some HON, but that's not true. If you early game, buying out is actually really cheap. I think that buyout cost me definitely less than 600 gold and probably about 500. So if you think about it, if buying out only costs you 500 gold and you save yourself like 30 seconds of death, then what are the chances you can farm 500 gold in 30 seconds with Soul Stealer? Well, I actually just probably farmed about 500 gold because I got 100% of the creeps in 2 creep waves, and both creep waves had 5 creeps, and each creep gives about 50 gold, so that's already 500. So that buyout was actually just economically correct. Also, when I made that decision, I didn't quite calculate it, but since I have post haste and I'm so over level, it's very likely that something like what just happened will happen. Like an ally will bait and they'll just walk into 3 nukes and I'll get something like a double kill. So I actually made a bit of an error here. I didn't realize that Gauntlet was gonna try to go in on the Arachna, so I was just running away since I didn't have very much HP. And as a result, the Gauntlet got the Arachna to within nuke range, and then I wasn't close enough to be able to finish him off, and then the Gauntlet died for his actions. A lot of situations like that are about weighing risk and reward. Honestly, the reason I made the decision I did was because dying for me is pretty bad, and killing an Arachna is, like missing out on that opportunity isn't really going to cost us the game, but dying here might. So even if there's only like a 10% chance I'm going to die, I still think it's not worth it to go for the kill. A lot of decision making in HON is just going to be based on that. Like, for instance, if you're playing a hero like Rampage and you're playing against an opposing Soul Stealer, then you're pretty willing to just suicide every time you can, just to get the kill on him. Since you dying, well, it probably isn't going to influence the game very much, but Soul Stealer losing farm early is going to have a huge effect on the game. So one thing you may have just noticed now is that instead of using post haste to transport myself, I just walked back to the fountain to heal, and then I walked to farm, instead of using post haste to go farm. This is really how you want to be using post haste. The reason you want to use post haste reactively instead of actively to go farm is that if you use your post haste to go somewhere, then you can really only be in that place for the next however long post haste cooldown is. I think it's like 55 seconds. So for the next 55 seconds, you cannot use post haste, and you're basically stuck wherever you teleported to, either for farming or for whatever. But if you walk somewhere to farm and it turns out that you don't actually want to be there, like an enemy hero just shows up randomly, then you can just post haste away and go somewhere else. And also your post haste is up in case your allies happen to get in a fight, so you can TP to counter gank or help them or whatever. It's important to apply this concept to post haste and Homecoming Stone, and just applying that will make you a much better team player. Speaking of team play, it looks like my allies just had an interesting fight mid where they came out ahead. I didn't participate in that fight because I had, I think about 3,000 gold, and I was about to get my Assassin's Shroud. So I didn't really want to teleport mid, because if I teleport mid, then A, it's not very likely it'll have an impact. As you noticed, they just kill them all anyway. And B, if I teleport mid, and I die, then I'll get under 3,000 gold, and I will pretty much just lose my Assassin's Shroud. So once again, it's just a risk versus reward analysis. If I teleport, then maybe I'll get a hero kill or two, and that's not the best. But if I die, then I could fall dangerously low on Assassin's Shroud money and just lose the game as a result. So if you noticed here, I actually just kind of choked on the gank, but even though I choked, I really don't think this gank was something that should have happened anyway, since it's pretty unlikely that one of them will actually farm that, because that would have been really far up to farm when all of our heroes weren't in vision. So what I should have done is just farmed the Hellborn neutral camp, so I don't waste time if no one shows up, and if someone does show up, I can still just turn around and go straight to it with Assassin's Shroud and post haste move speed. So right now, what you can't see is that one of my allies is getting engaged on bottom, so I just finished off the tower and immediately teleported. This fight is pretty standard. I don't know if you noticed, but I actually used my post haste while I was teleporting, so when I arrived, they couldn't really see that I was there. If they thought about it a little bit, they probably would have realized that if a teleport shows up on a creep and I'm the only one with post haste, then I'm going to appear, but you might as well give them the chance to not realize it. Here, there's not really anything I could do about that death. I pretty much just got 2 kills and had to run away from the rock at low HP, and then Rampage just showed up and killed me. What you should notice, though, is that I did buy out again. Once again, buying out is really good early in the game. I think this one cost me like 600 gold, but it saved me almost a full minute in the penalty zone from dying. And at this point in the game, if you're not getting 600 gold a minute with Soul Stealer, then you're probably doing it wrong. And also, being alive is really good. Since you have post haste and Assassin's Shroud, just you being alive stops your enemy's farming potential, since they can't really farm anywhere that doesn't have vision of you, since you're just going to teleport and then use Assassin's Shroud and ultimate on them if they do. So now that I've bought out and recovered some souls, I think it's gonna be time to fight soon. Looks like this Rampage tried to kill a Soul Reaper and is dangerously low on HP, so I'm just gonna be able to pick him off since I have Assassin's Shroud and I'm so much higher level. It looks like my allies are getting in some kind of a fight. So what I'm gonna do here is just attack, nuke, attack, nuke. It's pretty much what you want to do every fight, that you're not just going in and ulting first, since attacking first is going to make sure you always hit your nuke, and there's no reason. And also, nuking in between attacks makes sure that the time when your attack's on cooldown is not wasted. So since we just won that fight pretty handily, we're gonna take this tower. If you notice, they're kind of hanging around pretty close, so I decided to use my shroud and just try to go for it. This plague turned around for no reason, which kind of threw me off a little bit. Like, I was gonna just give up on it, and then he turned around, so I thought I was gonna kill him, but I didn't react fast enough, so turns out I couldn't actually kill him at all. In general, that was a pretty bad decision, since the best thing that can happen is I lose my ultimate and I kill a Plague Rider, which might not even be a good trade in the first place, but the real problem is the likelihood that I just get ulted by a Rocket or a Rampage as soon as I walk under that hill is just so high that it's really not worth the risk. Like, I could die there, and the chances of killing a Plague Rider, like a 10% chance of killing a Plague Rider, is just not worth any chance of me dying at all. Analyzing the risks versus the rewards in situations like that is really what distinguishes good players from great players, and hopefully watching me make these mistakes is going to improve your game. So in this fight, it's pretty much what I always do with Assassin's Shroud. Just as soon as they start going, use Assassin's Shroud, and then hopefully they'll use all their AoE spells while you're invisible, and then once all those AoE spells are gone, the path is clear for you to just pop out and start crushing them, since all their AoE spells are up, and you not only get one bonus attack, but are untouched by AoE. That fight, obviously, it didn't work out so well for me, since their hag was kind of saving everything for me, and I didn't even dodge their AoE that well. But generally in fights, that's what you want to do. As soon as they start going on you, use your Assassin's Shroud and try to get out of the way of their AoE, so that you'll be fresh to fight after all the AoE spells are thrown. That didn't really matter though, since my gold is just so high that even if I died like one more time after this, I could still just buy out and take whatever needed to be taken. So this game is pretty much over. We've taken their racks at about 22 minutes in, and I still have 2,000 gold left over after buying out, so I'm gonna have my Firebrand soon. And if this game lasted very much longer, then I'm not sure I would have gone for Firebrand. I probably would have gone for a Nullstone, since they have a Rampage and an Arachna whose ultimates are both just crushing against me, and Nullstone is really good against that. So takeaway lessons from this video are, before you go into any fight, just always analyze the risks and the rewards. And if you have the time, then it's not the worst to just go back and watch your own replays and think about the decisions you made during that game, and just analyze the risk versus the reward in hindsight. And since in game it's pretty hard to make decisions within half a second. So if you watch a replay of yourself playing a game and then think about it, put 10 seconds at least into thinking about every single decision, then the next time you have to make a snap decision, you'll be able to make it quicker and easier. Once again, this is Yoda from Team Loaded, and this was the final video in this series of 3 on the Soul Stealer.